So in the script here, I'm going to write a function, and so the function will run automatically on the console. So usually you will have the anonymous function like this, right? Function, and then you just say here, you wrap this whole function. If you remember, we did wrap the entire function with a paren, and then you call it at the end. Okay, so that means that when I run this script or this page, it will run that function right away without me having to call it, because it's being called right here by itself. Okay. So, for example, if I put here console.log hi, right? If I save that, and here if I refresh it, you see the results right away. Okay, because it calls it right away as soon as you refresh it. So this is what's called a self-invoking function. It calls itself immediately, and sometimes this is really useful if you want to run something right away. Then this is the way to do it. Otherwise, the function doesn't call until you call it, right? Either put it to a timer or attach it to another button somewhere, and then you can call it. But now you're just self-invoking. Okay, so and as you can see, there's no name. Okay, you cannot reuse this function again, right? Just that one time. You know, another way, say if you call function x, then if you take that out, it's the same thing as doing this, and just say down here, I have x, right? I'll get the same thing this way. Put that hi there, save, and you see that it works just fine. Okay, so it's kind of the same concept, except one with name, one without a name. So we have never used that before, so I want to go ahead and use this so that you have an idea of how this works. Okay, so all right, we're going to create an array in here. Back to the places again. We'll put places in here. I don't know, Chicago. Let's put boys in here. And then, oops, I missed mine. Why? Somebody still want to go to shoot boy again? Okay, so all right. Since this is a local variable, if you go back to your browser, if you refresh it, you won't be able to call the places because it's not available inside that function, right? It's inside the function. It's not global. You can access it. If you want to be global, so you can just test in your browser, make this a global variable, and then like that, right? And then now, if you replace that with the var, remove that, and then now, if you save it, refresh it, now you can access the places. So this is for like debugging purposes. Okay, it's really fast, really easy. Once you have it working, then you can put that back into the local space if that's what you want. Okay, so we have those 4 places to go. So in here, when you want to loop through the array, we know how to use a for loop, right? That's pretty straightforward. You can do that very easily. But let's go with that for each. Okay. The for each here, it does not return anything back. Okay, if it does, then return just the undefined variable. So in other words, if you put something inside the function and if you put return, it does not return anything back. Okay, so it just for the purpose of displaying your data, it would loop through your array each element at a time, and then through a function, and then you can process the data based on what you want to do with it, right? So let's say places dot for each. Okay, and then the first thing you have here is you have three ways to do this. One is use the anonymous function. That is very common. You just put the word function here, and then as you can see, it does it. The IDE, formats everything for us automatically, and it takes three parameters. The first one is well, you need that because if you don't need it, you don't have access to that element. Okay, so usually we call the first element, which is this could be the item. Okay, I can call it whatever I want, just a variable name. Item refers to each of these items here. Okay, the index is 0, 1, 2, and 3. If you also want to get the index, then you provide the second parameter. Okay, the second always the index, and not the other way around. Okay, so you can put the index as the second element, and the array is either the places itself. You can access the places array, or you can put here just a for the array. It's fine too. And what it does is that it will pass this array itself, the name itself, to this variable name, and so you don't have to reference places. Instead, you just reference a. Okay, but that's just for that. And usually you don't need it because it's really not that efficient anyway. But usually those two are quite common if you do care about the index. Okay, so inside the function here, and this is where you do your whatever you need to do here for this single element. So if you think about the first element, what do you do with it? Right? You can check for its data, what it is, or you can do something. So for this example, we're just going to print it out to the console. So we can just say console dot log and then log the item. Okay. So basically, I'm just printing everything from that array to the console, and each item goes through here. We'll call this function n number of times depending on how many elements you have. So it's going to loop through the entire array. Okay. Whereas the forEach, the for loop, you control how many elements you want to loop through, right? Here you don't have that option. Of course, you can terminate if you want. You can just say if item is, if the index is 3, then you can just say exit or break, and it will exit out of the function. Okay. So if you save that and go back to your browser and refresh, you see that it prints out those 4 elements here for us. Okay, very easy like that. And if you also want to print the index, then you can do that as well. So let's just say I want to print the index along with that item. So you could say index and then put a space, maybe colon, and then that item, right? So you could use the comma or the plus sign. It doesn't matter which one. Either way is fine. And then go back here and refresh. You'll see that I have the index along with the values. Okay. Okay. Why is it has a space in there? Is it different with the plus? Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm concatenating. The other one is printing it out. So maybe that's the difference there. It's a nicer format. Okay, so I just showed you that you use the anonymous function to do that, print. Okay, I'm going to do another one down here. This time we'll use, so you can use a function, right? So you could say places dot forEach, and then instead of the anonymous function, you can just say show data. and same thing, you will pass the item to the function, and then out here somewhere, see, so you have to write your function show data, and here you can put item here as well, and then I could just copy what I have here. Well, let's just pass the item and also the index. Okay. Let's see if that works. Item and index. Okay. So let's see. Save that, and okay. No, let's see, the item here, because it's not the anonymous function, how do you pass that over to the function? I don't want to say place item. Okay, I don't remember the syntax of this one here. I know you could pass the data over to this function to call it. I was thinking like, you know, you can call this inside this function, but you don't want to do that. Okay, well, I'm gonna comment this up for now. Okay, I'll get back to you how that's done. But you can call a function to do that as well, to process it. So I'm going to go with the other option. The third one is what's called the arrow function, or sometimes you have the term lambda. Okay, lambda expression. This is common in JavaScript and also in Java. This one here, maybe I should put up here. Well, let me close this. It will look very similar to this one here, but it makes your code much shorter. And I'm not sure if it's more confusing, but you see how it looks. Very similar to that one there, except you don't have the word function there at all. Okay, so we do like places dot forEach in here. So if you think about this function here, you remove that word function. Since I'm passing both parameters, in here I'll put the first parameter, which is the item. The second is the index. Okay. And then I'll put an arrow like that. The equal sign and the greater than sign, that's an arrow. And then I'll put inside here the curly braces. So if you look at this, it looks very similar to this function here. You take that out and you put an arrow here. That's all. Okay? You just shorten it, make it really short. And then inside here, I can go ahead and copy this statement and put it in here. So if you want to do that, you can just make it to a separate line and do that. That's fine too. Okay? So you can see that it's very short. And this is the lambda expression. Okay. So if you save this, and let's go back and let's hope this works. Okay, so it prints the second set here. You get the same result as the first one. Now this one here is very useful for your any function calls. Say that I mean, you can write the function. So usually you write a function, you say function. No, that function is so like a var total is equal to function, right? You pass in a and b, and then here you return a plus b, right? A typical function in here, and then if you call it total, if you type in console log total, and then you plus the total, you make that function call here, and you're going to get, well, you pass two parameters here. Total, let's just say 5 and 6. Okay, so you write a function. You use the function expression as it's a expression, and then you assign it a total, and you process it, and return that, and you get the total back. So you should get 11 in this case. So if I go here and then refresh it, so I got 11 for that total. Okay, so this is the typical way how you write functions. So if you want to write it this way using the lambda expression, then all you have to do is this. You just take that function out and put an arrow here. Okay, and you're done. Let's say we pass 15 and 16 in here, and I should get a total back. Okay, so very handy if you want to write the anonymous function using the lambda expression. Okay, so and you'll see this a lot. And if you want to impress your interviewer or your portfolio, I mean, do something like that. Okay. All right. So that's the forEach. Just to show you that you could iterate through your array using forEach command. And then there's another one. Okay, I'll show you one more. Instead of the forEach, we have another one called map. Okay, the map. I'll do the map first, and we'll take a break. Okay, a map is very similar to the forEach. Also, notice that if I return in here, if you do a return inside your function here somewhere, if you return like x or something like that, that x, whatever it is, even if you like return, 45, okay, that value is not going to return. Okay, so it doesn't return anything other than the word undefined. So that will not return back to whatever it is, because this is not. You think of this like a procedure in Visual Basic. There's nothing to return. Okay, so that's why you don't see that inside a function here. Okay, the other one's a map. The map works very similar to the forEach here. A map is the same way. To the places dot map. Okay, as you can see, you have a function as well. It takes the same parameter as your as the array, and so you can do here again the anonymous function. You could do the item here, and then the index as well, and arrow. Okay, so same way. It works the same. The difference is the map returns a new array. Okay, whereas the forEach does not return anything, right? You just print this out, and then you run it, you get something out. Okay, the map, it returns something back, returns a new array. So here you have to replace this with something. You can say var new list. Okay, you replace that with a new list. If you do this up here with the forEach, you're still not gonna get a list. It does not return anything, so you just basically print the data or manipulate the data, whatever you want to do inside the function here, and you're done. Okay, you use this for only if you want to do something with the data. This one, however, returns a new array back to another array. Okay, here you don't actually change the original array here. You get a new one back. So I could say maybe I have an array of these places. Okay, you know, maybe instead of places, we can change it to something else. Let's put another array here. Maybe numbers. Okay, so it's easier to see. I'll just put 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, and we'll put here numbers. Okay, so for each item, for each number, we want to maybe double it or something, right? So I could return here item times 2. Okay, and the index, we don't really need it, but if you want to reference it for whatever reason, then that's fine. So now if you do this, then it's going to look for every item. Grab the first item, 1, pass to this function, and then multiply it by 2, return it back. Okay, as the first element inside this new array called new list. Okay, and then it goes to the second element, takes 3, pass 3 in here, multiply by 2, return the total back to the second element of the list. Okay, so you get an equal number of a new array with equal number of elements, but this way you actually have the option to manipulate those data and then return back as a new list. Whereas for each you can't do that, right? So now if I put console log, let's put the numbers. No numbers. I mean numbers. Compare. That's the original one, and then also the new list. Okay. And we'll see if you get like 2, 6, 10, 14. Okay, refresh that. And here we have the new list and your original array. So that's what the map does. If you want to manipulate your array and return it back with the new array, then use the map. If you don't do that, you just loop through the array and then do something with each data, then use the forEach. Okay. Each of those have their own advantage in terms of performance as well, depending on the size of the array. I forgot what the site is, but there is a site that you can actually test the performance of these different loops here. I'll find it. I saw it somewhere. I'll find it. It's got JS perf or something. I forgot where it is. Okay, and then one last thing here. I promise we'll go on break. I'll just do it here. Is the set. Okay, so we have a set. We have the array. We have objects, and we have a set. Okay, so if you put like var s is equal to new set, and then okay, so a set is just like an array. What a set is that all the numbers just have to be unique. That's all. You don't have duplicate values or duplicate data in there. Bless you. So if you put like s, let's see, f that add 1. Okay, you see that has the number 1 in there, and s that add 2. Okay, so you have a set of 1, 2. S that add 3. Okay, I have 3 of them. And if I go and add one more, I should say s that add 1 again. Okay, you see that the set doesn't change. okay, because 1 is already there, so therefore it will just ignore it. Okay, so that's the difference between a set and an array and object. Whereas an array, if you say you know, var a is no array, right? A not add a of 0, right? That will be 1. A of 1 will be 1, and you see that A has duplicate data. Okay, whereas set you cannot have duplicate data. So you use the set for. I'm sure you can find some really good reasons why a set will be used. And then that's unique. You don't have duplicate data there. And then when you loop to the set, it's the same thing as the array. But it is just an array of objects, or an object, or an array, how you call it. It's just that you don't have duplicate data. Okay, any questions so far? All right. Thank you for your patience. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back, and then we'll look at some more of the array stuff.